Let's talk about the dynamic option under the brush. So currently, if we are just sculpting now, you can see that we do a stroke here, then we zoom out, and we do another stroke, we zoom more out, and we do another stroke, and do another stroke, and we zoom more out, and you can tell that these strokes are not the same size, even though our brush size is actually the same. Now, this is normally not a huge problem, but a lot of times you want to make sure that you really have the same brush size regardless of where you're sculpting. There are so many scenarios where you just want this. So now you zoom out and suddenly the stroke is way bigger. So a feature Pixologic has added is the dynamic mode here. So currently you can see that the brush is screen based, which means, you know, it's this big now, and you zoom out and it's still this big. So the brush just retains the same size based on the screen. With dynamic, however, it changes based on the model. So now if we enable it, you can just enable it by clicking over here on dynamic or S key, and then we have dynamic as well. So here, right there. And now you can see that if we do a stroke, let's do a small stroke. Stroke here, zoom out, do a stroke here, stroke and stroke. So these strokes are exactly the same, independent of where you are looking on your model. So this is fantastic. A lot of times you really want to keep dynamic on because you just really have consistent sizes. So if we now want to use the move brush to move this around like so, we have all the freedom and power to do it. We just know that the brush size is the same. There is, however, a problem. Now, if we have a model which is like 100 times bigger, since this is no longer based on the screen size, but instead it's based on the model size, now that the model is a lot bigger, we have a problem. Because now we set this all the way to 1000, and we're like, oh man, this is terrible. Why is it so tiny? And now you are going back to the regular mode like this by clicking over here, and now you no longer have dynamic. Now, this is kind of a semi-fix for you, but now you no longer have the dynamic option, which is exactly what you want in this case. So enable dynamic again. It can be a bit fiddly sometimes, so just keep trying it. And we have a fix for this. If we go under preferences and draw, and here we have dynamic brush scale. And if we set this all the way to the max, now you can see that we can actually work with this. Because now we have set the brush size so big that we can actually just work with this regardless of the scale. So this is not a huge problem at the moment. So now we essentially solve that just by changing the simple setting under the preferences. So now if we do a stroke here now, let's just stroke now, stroke now, stroke now, we still have dynamic even though we have a completely different scale. The reason you will have different scales of your models in ZBrush is because people might give you different scales. Honestly, this might just change based on production, and if you get a model which is way too big, you really, really don't want to scale it down because this causes all sorts of problems. You're not going to scale the model down because you want to use a specific brush setting. Now you're going to destroy everything in this particular pipeline. So I highly recommend that you just use dynamic, and then you go under draw and change the dynamic brush size scale.